Welcome in this live edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. A brand new day for NFL Dailies. We're with you on Thursdays in addition to Tuesdays now as well. I'll be manning things on Thursdays. Tom Downey will be here with you on Tuesdays. As you guys file in, we get this show started. Shout out your favorite NFL player. We'll shout you out and show you some love as we begin today's show. We are talking about Kareem Hunt, Chris Jones, Nick Bosa. Got the latest news and rumors of those guys, top free agent targets to get to coming up later, and Q&A mailbag, as well as some college football to get to later on. Alona says, hi, Tyler. Good to see you, Alona. Lors gets a question for the mailbag in, hashtag NFL, to get those questions in. XD Gamer, shout out Chris Jones. Let's see, Ruski says, hey, been a while. Good to see you, Ruski. Shout out your favorite NFL player, and we'll get this show started. Lors says, Nick Bosa. Alona, I'm sorry to break it to you. The Seahawks are not one player. Give me one player. XD Gamer, shout out Troy Polamalu. Very cool there. Give us your hottest NFL take entering 2023. What do you have in mind for this upcoming season? I got to tell you, I like the Seattle Seahawks to break double-digit wins and to be one of the top teams in the NFC. That's my scorching hot take that I'm looking forward to. I think the Seahawks are going to be a force to be reckoned with this year. What else do you guys got? Let's see. Melvin says Russell Wilson's his favorite player. Ruski says Tyreek Hill, baby, fends up. Go ahead and chime in. Tell us what your hottest take is in the chat. XD Gamers says Calvin Ridley, 1,500 yards. Evan Hinders says the Commanders make the playoffs. We're going to talk about Nick Bosa coming up in just a minute, and I'm very curious. The 49ers going to get a deal done with Nick Bosa. Chime in, Y for yes, in for no. What do you think? Will they get a deal done or not? As I'm seeing some of the takes coming in, Ilona saying playoffs for the Seahawks. Laura saying Nick Bosa gets a big contract. XD Gamer saying Nick Bosa might go to Jacksonville. Apparently, according to XD Gamers, everybody's going to Jacksonville. We'll see exactly what goes on there as far as Nick Bosa goes. Also, let's ask you about Chris Jones, another guy we'll be talking about here in just a bit. Will he play for the Chiefs week one? Currently, right now, he is on the reserve list, the list that keeps him out, where he won't be playing at the moment as he's holding out for that new contract. Are we going to see him play for the Chiefs week one? It's a week from tonight as they take on the Detroit Lions. Y for yes, in for no. Brewski, Lore, Evan Hinders, and Joseph all say no. XD Gamer says no as well. Producer extraordinaire, Tyler Smith. Smitty's in the house. Smitty, what's kind of your thoughts on Bosa and Chris Jones here, their situations?
Bosa is going to get paid probably upwards of $20 million per year, probably even more than that, to be quite honest with you. Chris Jones, do I think he plays week one for the Chiefs? No. Do I think he gets a deal done with the Chiefs? Yes, I do. More often than not, when guys hold out like this, they end up getting the deal done. I mean, are they really going to trade Chris Jones, the backbone of their defense, for all their Super Bowl runs?
This late in the ball game?
Yeah, this late in the ball game, you're coming off a Super Bowl. And he's also aging as well. They're probably not going to get the compensation that they want back for Chris Jones. They're going to get a deal done. It'll be a 2-year deal, 2-3-year deal, and that'll be Chris Jones, likely his last big contract.
I'm feeling optimistic that Chris Jones plays next week for the Chiefs against the Lions, that they're going to find a way to get something
Maybe if
out.
It was on Sunday. Game's on Thursday, though. We're a week away.
It is, but he knows that scheme. He doesn't need practice. I think Chris Jones could be back as early as next week. I'm watching out for that. Who will be the best coach in the NFL entering the 2023 season? Is it Bill Belichick? Is it Andy Reid, Pete Carroll, John Harbaugh, Sean McVay? A lot of different coaches to choose from. Let us know who you think the best coach in the NFL is. Smitty, I'll say this real quick. As Melvin says, Andy Reid. I think Andy's the best at the moment. I think Belichick has lost a step, that he's not the same guy that he was with Tom Brady. I would take Andy Reid at this point in time over any coach in the league.
I would take Andy Reid as well. I don't think it's much of a question that Andy Reid is the best coach currently in the NFL. Belichick, obviously, historically, but he hasn't drafted well recently. He hasn't had the talent, and he hasn't had Tom Brady. So those factors have kind of knocked him down the totem pole as of late. But Andy Reid, I mean, I'd say I'd stack him up against anybody.
Let's see, XD Gamer, Doug Peterson's such an elite coach. Hey, he's got a Super Bowl. Laura says Kyle Shanahan. Evan Hinder says Mike Tomlin. He never had a losing season.
Is a good pick.
You know, everybody loves to bring up that he's never had a losing season thing. They also fail to mention that he hasn't won a playoff game in 5 years either.
That's also true.
So
another statement.
You have to mention that as well. You can't not mention both things there. Waiting on my computer to refresh. So, Smitty, our next question, we're talking college football playoff here?
Yep, college football playoff. Who will be the Final Four in the college football playoff? Sound off in the chat. Georgia opens as number 1.
Big night tonight, Florida and Utah.
Yep.
Kind of the real official kickoff to the college football season. I got to tell you, as I'm waiting on my computer to load here, and then we can really get this thing started. Smitty, the team, that 4 teams for me that I'm watching for, Texas, I think, and we're going to talk about Texas later, I think Texas has a bounce-back year this year. Finally,
they should win the Big 12.
USC, I know the defense isn't good, but you got the best quarterback in the country in Caleb Williams. I think Georgia's back there again, and I like Michigan. Those are my 4 teams. Who are your 4?
I think it's tough to bet against Georgia in this little era of dominance they have going on. I like Michigan as well. So the 1-2, pretty chalk so far. I like LSU. I like LSU a lot. I think they have star power on both sides of the football. And I like Texas as well. I think Texas can really make some noise. They have a great wide receiver core. And Quinn Ewers, of course. I'd also watch out for Notre Dame. If their schedule pans out the way it does, and they are 1 loss heading into the final week of the season, they could easily be in college football playoff territory.
Andrew says Ohio State. Melvin says Alabama, Michigan State, Georgia, and Ohio. I'm assuming he means Ohio State. Michigan State, I'd be very surprised. Laura says Michigan. Joseph says Georgia, Michigan, Texas, and USC. XD Gamer says Florida, Ohio State, Georgia, and Oregon. GM Evans saying Georgia, Penn State, LSU, and Texas.
Oregon's not bad, man. They got last year a Bo Nix.
Yeah.
Penn State also a dark horse to win the Big Ten for me as well.
All right, we're 14 likes right now. Well, now we're up to 15. Let's double that. Let's get to 30, and then we'll go ahead and get this show started. News and Rumors is on deck. That's coming up next with the latest happenings from around the NFL. Then we'll do a mailbag segment coming up later. Use hashtag NFL or Super Chat to be a part of that mailbag segment. Then we'll talk top remaining NFL free agents, run through the full list in just a little while from right now. Then we'll end the show with more college football as we'll have bold predictions for the 2023 college football season. All that and more coming up on this edition of NFL Daily with a little bit of college football now as well. So go ahead and hit that like button. Clayton says, sup, Tyler? Just smash that like button. Go Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner. I like that from Clayton. Boomer Sooner indeed. I'm headed there on Saturday. I'm going to go watch the Sooners take on Arkansas State, actually. So very good. So best of luck to your Sooners, Clayton. I'll be rooting them on this weekend for you. Hit that like button. We're at 19 now. Let's get to 30, and we'll get this thing started. Let's go ahead and get to our news and rumor segments. Smitty, whenever you're ready, then we'll go ahead and get this thing started here on this later edition, on this Thursday. Our new day, as it will be with you on a Thursday night. Thursdays for the rest of the NFL season. I'll man things down on Thursdays. Tom Brady will hand things on Tuesdays. So look forward to that. Coming up, we're talking Kareem Hunt, Chris Jones, and Nick Bosa as we begin here on NFL Daily. Whenever Smitty's ready and he gives me the thumbs up, then we will get this thing started. Violator says, what's up, Chugs? Chugs is not here. He is over on a Raiders report right now. He might be getting a tattoo, actually. They're having a fun time over there. But Smitty, we all set? Yep. All right, let's get after it. NFL news and rumors start right now. Coming up on today's show, we have the latest on Kareem Hunt. Where could he sign? Also, Chris Jones. Is it really possible that he might miss week 1 next week for the Kansas City Chiefs when they take on the Detroit Lions? It's just a week away now. Also, Nick Bosa. We've heard about the contract talks with Bosa. Could he ultimately be traded? We'll dissect it all on this edition of NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Let's start with Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, with a week to go to the NFL season, is still waiting to sign somewhere. And according to Kareem Hunt, he is waiting for the right contract. As a report came out from Tom Pelissero, the NFL Network insider, within the last 24 hours, that Kareem Hunt has had offers from 4 teams over the past several weeks per source. He has continued to wait for the right offer. So there's offers there. Kareem Hunt could be with the team if he wanted to right now, but he's kind of holding his ground to see where ultimately that ends up for him. A lot of speculation of what those teams are, those 4 teams. If I were to take an educated guess, okay, and this is not any reporting on my part, just an educated guess of the 4 teams that I think would probably be the most interested in Kareem Hunt right now. The Indianapolis Colts, who don't have Jonathan Taylor at the moment. He's on the PUP list, and there's a chance he could get traded anyway when he comes off the PUP list. Minnesota looking for another running back to go along with Alexander Mattison. The Miami Dolphins, of course, very weak at the running back position. And then there's the Buffalo Bills. You have Cook, and you have other guys potentially, but still lacking some depth of some sorts for that Buffalo Bills team. If all things are equal, and we're not worried about money here, Kareem Hunt probably is worried about money to an extent when you hear he's waiting for the right deal, I think the best option potentially is the Buffalo Bills. I mean, there's concerns out there about Kareem Hunt that he's starting to lose his speed, that he's not the same running back that he was a few years ago. So if that's the case, clock is ticking on your chance to capitalize on your prime years of the National Football League and a chance to go get that ring. If I'm Kareem Hunt, you barely missed the boat on winning a Super Bowl with the Kansas City Chiefs. Of the teams that are shopping for running backs right now, the Buffalo Bills give you the best chance to compete for a ring as far as I'm concerned, while he still has some capabilities of some sorts at this point in his career. Stats for Kareem Hunt, you can see his yards per carry was down quite a bit last year. 3.8 yards per carry, 3 touchdowns, had 468 yards on the ground. You compare that to the year prior, his numbers were up yardage-wise, but you can see his yards per carry was down significantly year over year. You go back to 2020, the last really solid season he had when he had 841 yards and 6 touchdowns there with the Cleveland Browns, the number 2 to Nick Chubb. So, what team will end up signing Kareem Hunt in free agency? It's our pinned comment today. You might get an ad break while the ad's playing. Get your votes in. Tell me where you think Kareem Hunt is going to end up. Chime in the comment section and let me know where you think he is ultimately going to go. The Kansas City Chiefs are close to wrapping up the preseason without a deal for Chris Jones, as the contract talks are going on with Chris Jones, trying to figure out what exactly they're going to do at this point. And Brett Veach, the GM of the Kansas City Chiefs, he addressed the status of the contract talks, where things stand right now, saying, "We're certainly hopeful for that, for a new deal. We have been in communication, and actually just the last few days, we've been in more communication. We're going to continue to press on and work hard." I think about this, guys. I mean, you talk about the timeline. I think the time has come and gone for the Chiefs to trade Chris Jones because you don't have an obvious replacement. If you were going to trade Chris Jones, I think you would have done so before the draft. That way you could have had something in place to replace him now. You're in win-now mode if you're the Kansas City Chiefs. You need Chris Jones there. And every game matters. When you're the Kansas City Chiefs and you're trying to get the number 1 seed in the AFC, you want that bye week to begin the playoffs, you need to play your best every single week. And you can't play your best if Chris Jones isn't out in the football field. The Detroit Lions need to be taken seriously. This is not your grandma's Detroit Lions, okay? The Chiefs desperately need Chris Jones out there in this football game. They need him to get pressure on Jared Goff and to be an impact player and really plug up things. If they don't have him out there, they very well might just lose this football game. It would, if you tell me that Chris Jones doesn't play next Thursday night and against this Detroit team, and Detroit pulls off the upset, I'm not going to be surprised. That's how much of a difference maker I personally think Chris Jones is and how badly they need him out there. Speaking of this game, you can bet on it at BetUS. Go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code NFL Daily for a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, you get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. The early lines for next week's contest, the Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites. The over-under at 54.5. Expected to be a shootout, a high-scoring affair on Thursday night between the Chiefs and the Lions. Who do you got? You going with Kansas City or are you going with Detroit? If you're placing your bets on the Chiefs, then go ahead and type KC in the comments section. If you're going with the Detroit Lions, then go ahead and type DET for Detroit. Let us know in the comments section what your bet is, who you're on with, Kansas City or Detroit. Tell me who it is in the comments section below, and get your bets in now at chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily. From one holdout to another, we turn our attention to Nick Bosa. Could the 49ers end up trading defensive end Nick Bosa amid these recent contract negotiations? Well, according to 49ers head coach Kyle Shanahan, not so fast. When asked about the idea of trading Bosa, he said, no, I haven't talked to many people about that, but I know how I feel pretty strongly, and I think everyone would agree with that. End of quote there from Kyle Shanahan. So, look, here's the thing. Okay, the 49ers are in a much different boat compared to the Kansas City Chiefs when it comes to paying their star defensive player here. Because think about this. The 49ers, you're not paying a star quarterback, okay? You are not paying, like a Patrick Mahomes, $50+ million. You have the advantage of Brock Purdy on a rookie contract. That way you can pay everybody else. You should have been able to figure this out with Nick Bosa a long time ago. There's no excuse that they shouldn't have been able to get this done by now and have him ready to play next week. You look at the market for edge rushers out there. It's not cheap, certainly. $28 million for T.J. Watt, who's the highest paid. Nick's brother Joey is pretty rich as well. He might ask him for some donut money or something with $27 million he's making a year. Myles Garrett at $25 million. But the reason why you have to pay him is the impact. I mean, you can't argue the impact that Bosa brings to the table. Arguably the best pure defensive end in the NFL. He's had 34 sacks the last 2 seasons, constantly demands double teams, underrated as a run stopper, a game wrecker, a game changer. Nick Bosa is, I would argue, other than Aaron Donald, the most important defensive player in the league, and he's got the brightest future of any defensive player in the league. So, are they going to end up having to trade Nick Bosa, or will they get a deal done? Tell me what you think. Y for yes, in for no. Will the 49ers end up trading Bosa or not? Tell me what you think in the comments section. Y for yes, in for no. Our Raiders channel is live right now, and they'll be live again tomorrow as our guy Mitchell Renz is in the middle of getting a Raiders tattoo. If you haven't seen any of this, you need to head over there and watch it. It is quite the sight to behold, folks. Check it out on the Raiders Report live today and tomorrow for more continuing coverage there. Tell them that Tyler Jones sent you from NFL Daily. Subscribe to the channels. We're talking about the National Football League each and every day here on NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time. All right. That is one segment down. And we're going to do our Q&A mailbag next. Hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get on the mailbag and submit your questions. I know we had a couple questions come in a little while ago, but we certainly could use some more questions there as we're going to wait a couple minutes and make sure we get enough questions to get this mailbag started. Smitty, that Nick Bosa situation there.
Yeah.
Of him waiting to get his money at this point in time, I thought for sure the Niners were going to have a deal by now. with them not having to pay a quarterback, there's no reason why this shouldn't have been taken care of.
They have to, but it's a market resetting deal that's going to happen for Nick Bosa. And that's not easy for teams to fork over, especially a team like the Niners, who's prided itself on not paying players, on building through the draft, and finding the gems on defense. So they haven't been one of those teams who's going out there and spending. They're honestly they're the anti-Rams. They don't make crazy moves other than Trey Lance, of course. That's pretty uncharacteristic for the Niners for the most part. But they're not ones that are going out there and paying anybody crazy, especially on the defensive side of the football. So the fact that they have no deal done yet, it's not super shocking. But he is the best edge rusher in the NFL, and I'd pay the guy if I were them.
Yeah, I would too. Submit your questions to us, hashtag NFL or Super Chat. I see XD Gamers got some questions in. Let's see. What else we got? Some other questions coming in. What do you guys think about the Bosa stuff here? Ilona says, take Nick Bosa with you. You need it. Let's see. What else we got in the chat? Will Nick Bosa go to Jacksonville? That's the other thing, too. We mentioned the 49ers, or the Jags, already got to start thinking about they're going to pay Trevor Lawrence here sooner than later. That's something that if you were interested in, you still got to start thinking about planning how do we pay money for Trevor Lawrence because he's going to demand a big contract. Clayton with a question in the mailbag. Thank you for that. Feel free to keep sending in those questions, hashtag NFL or Super Chat to get your questions in as we begin this mailbag segment in just a few moments. Smitty, I see we got a few questions already.
Sure.
Do we have enough to get started, or
Let's
then
see.
take some more as we go along here?
Let me just take a quick look.
And if you have a follow-up question, if you think of another question as we're going along here, then feel free to send it our way as well. Hashtag NFL to get your questions in for our mailbag segment we'll do coming up in just a few moments. Super Chat, your questions will go to the front of the line. $ below the chat box if you would like to contribute. Great way to support the work we're doing to bring you NFL coverage here on NFL Daily. Hudson, thanks for doing that properly. Ilona, same way. XD Gamer as well. You guys get the job done. There's GM Evan as well. I think that's going to be enough. I think we should be good on questions.
We should be good.
Let's, same thing, like 8 to 10 minutes here.
Yep.
All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started with our mailbag segment here on NFL Daily.
This all three good to start with?
Yeah, that's
Cool.
good. All right. 3, 2, and 1. It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here. It is mailbag time. These mailbag segments come from the live shows that we bring you a couple times a week here on the channel. We recorded this on Thursday. We're answering questions that people were sending in using the hashtag NFL and super chatting. And so without further ado, we will get started in just one moment. But first, I want to encourage you to subscribe to NFL Daily and join our weekly live shows. Turn on notifications. That way you stay up to date with the latest happenings around the National Football League. We got you covered here on the channel. Subscribe now for free and make sure to join us for our next live mailbag. All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Georgie writes, what UDFA has the best chance to win Rookie of the Year? There's only one correct answer to this. First off, let me preface this by saying the chances aren't very high for any of them. But there is one that has a chance above the rest, and his name is Jake Bobo with the Seattle Seahawks. Bobo, terrific training camp, terrific preseason. He's going to be the Seahawks' number 4 receiver, and he's in a competitive receiving room. Jackson Smith-Njigba is there, Tyler Lockett, DK Metcalf. I mean, it's stacked up. If he was, let's say, a team that's got a bad receiver room of sorts, like, I don't know, Arizona. If he was in Arizona, okay, then all of a sudden we'd be like, yeah, he actually could compete for Rookie of the Year. But it's going to be tough for him just to get catches with all the guys he's competing with. But he's probably the most talented undrafted free agent out there. But Georgie, that's quite the question. I would put the chances low for any of them, but he would have the best chance. Jim Evan writes in, should New England bring in Jalen Reagor since Tyquan Thornton's on IR? Well, the Patriots, they ended up activating Bailey Zappi, or actually I take that back. They deactivated Bailey Zappi. Remember, they sent him over to the practice squad, signed Matt Corral today, and Corral ended up taking Tyquan Thornton's spot with Tyquan Thornton going to IR. So, GM Evan, the Patriots, while it's an interesting idea, Belichick and company already made up their mind. That spot is not going to be replaced with another receiver coming in. It's going to be replaced with the Patriots going here with this direction that they're going with Matt Corral. That's the decision that they've made up their minds and already gone with. As far as Jalen Reagor goes, Jalen Reagor was such a bust, right? After being picked in, the top 20 out of TCU, all the hype, the expectation, and all the great receivers that were picked in that draft. And what do you know? He just disappointed in Philadelphia, had a good preseason in Minnesota. I think he might be worth one more shot for somebody, but it won't be New England. I can tell you that much. Let's see. Next question. NFL is scripted. I like it. Will Chase Young get traded? I would have answered yes to this question probably back a couple months ago, as the Commanders were paying a lot of their guys, their defensive guys, and it didn't look like there was necessarily enough money for Chase Young. But then Chase Young had an outstanding camp, really good preseason. I mean, he looked the part, right? Chase Young did. And if he can stay healthy, then he can be that number 2 overall pick that he was back in 2020. So I don't think Chase Young's getting traded. I think they're going to end up paying him. I don't know how long the contract is, but I think he's staying put with that Commanders team for now. But if they do trade him, there's going to be plenty of suitors lining up with interest in Chase Young. Potentially could get a second-round pick for him. Your chance to be the GM here on NFL Daily. Should the Commanders trade Chase Young? Y for yes, N for no. Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section. Should they make a move or not? I want to hear from you. Let us know in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no, if they should make a trade. Gary writes in, do you feel Chris Jones signs this weekend? I don't know if it's necessarily this weekend exactly, but I think within the coming days, Chris Jones and the Chiefs find a way to get something done, because Chris Jones is too valuable not to have on the football field. Because here's the deal. If you were the Kansas City Chiefs and you were going to trade Chris Jones, you should have done that by now. You should have done that before the draft, when you could have been able to replace him at that point. It's too late in the ballgame now. There is no way in hell you're going to find anybody out there that's even close to the caliber of Chris Jones to fill that gap at this point in time. You're a win-now team for the Kansas City Chiefs. You're right in Patrick Mahomes' prime. I think they get a deal done soon. I don't know if it's necessarily, on Saturday or Sunday. Maybe it's Monday, whatever it is. But they need him to play Thursday night. Every game matters. You're trying to get that number 1 seed. I think that they're going to find a way to get something done. Clayton writes in, why is a quality offensive lineman like Dalton Risner still a free agent? That is the million-dollar question that I've been asking. Why is he still a free agent? Dalton Risner spent 4 years in Denver, was really solid. I think he's a good leader. He's a good run blocker, decent pass blocker. Dalton Risner can get the job done. I am surprised that he's still out there at this point in time. He said himself he wanted to kind of test the landscape of sorts and wasn't ready to sign immediately. But here we are, the season's beginning, and he's still got nowhere to go. So your guess is as good as mine. I don't know why he's still unsigned at this point, but I think that he could be a nice fit for somebody if he gets the opportunity to do so there. But Clayton, thanks for the question there on Dalton Risner and why he's still a free agent. Who knows? Got jerseys that we're selling for some of your favorite NFL rookies, from Bryce Young to Anthony Richardson, C.J. Stroud, among others. Bijan Robinson wearing 7 That's a little spicy for a running back there. You can get all these as well as other NFL jerseys at chatsports.com/NFL jersey to get yours today. Great way to get these jerseys now as these guys begin their careers, and hopefully you have this jersey as they go all the way to the Hall of Fame. So get yours now. Support your favorite rookie. Chatsports.com/NFL jersey is the site to get yours now, and you will be glad you did. All right, we will shift gears and get to another question in the mailbag. And this one comes from Hudson. As Hudson wants to know, was the Alex Ingold contract too much? No, I don't think so. I think that, it wasn't the best contract, not necessarily, but it could have been worse. As far as I'm concerned. Hudson, very good question, but I don't think it was necessarily too much money that he was able to get there. Laura writes, what position should the 49ers address? Let me circle back to that question when we get to the trade deadline. Think about this. Last year, when you looked at the receiving core for the 49ers last year, they kind of took a step back. Brandon Ayuk and those guys weren't as good necessarily as they were the year prior. And, they're coming off 2 straight NFC Championship game appearances and all, where they lost 2 straight years. If the receiving core isn't up to snuff, watch out potentially for them to maybe say goodbye to Brandon Ayuk and maybe make a move to go get another receiver to try to capitalize and give a weapon for Brock Purdy there. All right, and then one more question in the mailbag. Not so fast. Lee Corso, good to see you. Will Jonathan Taylor get traded after he's activated when he comes off PUP? Very good question. Not so fast. Lee Corso, good to see you in the mailbag this week. But, Lee, I do. I think that it's not repairable, the relationship between the Indianapolis Colts and Jonathan Taylor. And it's all on the Indianapolis Colts. It has been totally screwed up by Jim Irsay and Colts management with the decisions they've made over the last couple months, how they've handled this. Jonathan Taylor wants to get paid. There's a number of teams that would gladly pay Jonathan Taylor, and they're not doing it. This has been poorly treated. If I'm Jonathan Taylor, why would I ever play for that organization ever again? I don't think they're going to have a choice, but they're going to have to trade him before the trade deadline. Where will Jonathan Taylor play after Week 4? Where's it going to be? Something tells me watch out for the Miami Dolphins as a possibility. We'll see. Where is he going to go? Chime in. Tell us in the comments section where that team is, where you think Jonathan Taylor is ultimately going to end up when it's all said and done. All right. There we go. 2 segments down. And 2 to go. We will get to top NFL free agents remaining coming up next. But as we await that, we'll begin that in just a second. Where will Jonathan Taylor play after Week 4? Smitty, I'm leaning towards Miami being said team. What is your gut instinct telling you where Jonathan Taylor likely plays, if he plays this year at all?
I wonder what Miami thinks of Jim Irsay in Indianapolis right now, because the Colts demanded back in return Jalen Waddle, and that's just Bush League. Jalen Waddle won. Yeah, it's funny because I remember I heard somebody say, like, they are talking about not paying Jonathan Taylor, but then they want Jalen Waddle back. That's so hypocritical. Well, one, no, it's not. It's actually just a douchey move.
Right.
It's just them saying that they want one of their star players back in return for their star player they're sending away. But those star players don't weigh the same amount in terms of NFL and how teams value certain positions. Wide receiver is becoming one of the most important positions on the football field, and Jalen Waddle is going to be set up to getting paid as a top football wide receiver. Teams would much rather pay Jalen Waddle than they would Jonathan Taylor, even though both have an injury history. Jalen Waddle's, one, his injury is older, and 2, his position does not age out as fast as the running back position does. So I'm curious to know if Miami will even continue to pursue talks with Indianapolis after an offer like that.
Right.
There's always this mystery team that people are talking about. I think it's the Buffalo Bills.
I think so too.
Could be the Chicago Bears.
And the Buffalo Bills. That is the best opportunity for him to try to go win a championship.
100%.
Teams looking for running backs.
100%.
That is a unique situation.
And they're a team that does operate in silence like that. You look at their trade for Nyheim Hines last year, and they dealt with the Colts already. They've done this dance already with Jim Irsay.
Even their signings are quiet. Like they signed Von Miller out of left
field.
Out
of nowhere. They operate in silence up there. And listen, it's Buffalo, so it's pretty easy to keep things under wraps up there.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's get to top free agents remaining. We're going to run through the top 25, and we will get you guys' reaction. We'll break that down. Coming up here at NFL Daily, we'll run through the top 25 players and talk about potential destinations where they will go, and bring that to you coming up on the other side here on NFL Daily. Top NFL free agents after roster cutdowns, the waiver wire and everything. We'll run through it right now. And who knows, based on our luck, Smitty, we could have somebody sign while we're in the middle of doing this cut, potentially. So, yeah. So these are the top free agents at this moment, at this hour, here on NFL Daily. So whenever Smitty gives me the go-ahead, then we'll be good. All right. 3, 2, and 1. It's NFL Daily by Chat Sports, and we have had an eventful week here on the channel, and really just across the National Football League, with the 53-man roster sets, and then the waiver wire, and more moves that have gone on since then. So now what we're going to do is we are going to break down the top remaining free agents at this point and talk about some potential destinations for those players of where they could end up. So without further ado, let's get started. We begin with Kareem Hunt at the running back position, still trying to find a home. The Browns were concerned about his lack thereof of speed that he has anymore. Reports from Tom Pelissero was that there are 4 teams specifically interested in Kareem Hunt, but Kareem Hunt is holding out to see what the best offer potentially is. Meanwhile, Leonard Fournette is trying to find a new home of some sorts. And both these guys, their situations might actually depend on how this Jonathan Taylor situation ultimately gets played out. Maybe one of them goes to Indianapolis to fill the void left by Jonathan Taylor at this point in time. Leonard Fournette really developed as a good pass catcher after playing with Tom Brady. He was not much of a pass catcher before that. We'll see if Leonard Fournette has something left to offer potentially for a team out there. Jarvis Landry is still available. Jarvis Landry struggled to stay healthy, but still a talented receiver. Still does a good job of getting open towards the middle of the field. If you are a team looking for that number 4 receiver of sorts, Jarvis Landry might potentially be worth taking a flyer on. And you talk about some of the teams out there that could be maybe like Tampa Bay, for example. You lost Russell Gage. That's a team that's got a shot to win that division. Don't sleep on him staying within the NFC South. Then there's offensive guard Dalton Risner, and this just doesn't add up to me. Why Dalton is still a free agent at this point in time. Had a very good run with the Denver Broncos. Was picked out of Kansas State, 4-year starter there with the Denver Broncos. And, I mean, he's a good pass and run blocker, good leader. I thought he was going to sign all the way back in March. It doesn't add up to me why he's still available at this point in time. If you have an injury at the guard spot, Dalton Risner can come in right away and be your starter. Chris Wormley is also still available at this point as well. He's trying to find somewhere to go and could have a nice impact for somebody on their defensive line if you're looking for a game changer there to add some strength to that defense. So there's our first 5 options, and we have 20 more to go here on NFL Daily. Let's ask you about Kareem Hunt. What team is signing him? I tend to think Buffalo is interesting. Miami's a possibility. We've heard about Minnesota, Indianapolis, a number of teams. What team is signing Kareem Hunt? Chime in and tell us in the comments section what that team is, and let me know where you think he ends up. Matt Ioannidis is on the list. Another one that still baffles me why he's still available at this point. The Seattle Seahawks have been a team that's been mentioned. They could potentially need some help in the interior of the defensive line. He's a great wingman. This is not a guy that's going to be your leading sack man, but he's going to take up a couple blockers and allow for other guys to step up and make some plays. Kyle Van Noy is out there. He had talked to the Baltimore Ravens a while back. Ultimately, they went in a different direction with Jadeveon Clowney. I know that the Patriots have talked about a reunion potentially. We'll see where Kyle Van Noy goes. I think he's still got something left in the tank. Safety Andrew Adams is still available as well at this point. He's a guy I would think that after the season gets going, when there's an injury at the safety spot, he should see his phone light up and potentially get some calls to fill in a void there at the safety spot. Byron Jones is a free agent. Kind of similar to Andrew Adams there. When teams start to get shorthanded at the corner spot, Byron Jones could see his phone ringing potentially with some possibilities there. Our favorite holiday is Galladay, right? The former New York Giant. And his time, it felt like just that his prime years went by so quick there with the New York Giants. Things kind of just faded quickly for Kenny Galladay. But this is a guy that is a good possession receiver. He can get open. I personally, and maybe I'm just showing my age at this point here, but I still don't feel like Kenny Galladay is that old, relatively speaking. Maybe time is relative and it's all just catching up with me, but this feels like a guy that still might have something left to offer. Taylor Lewan, his circumstance is pretty interesting. He knew right away he was going to get cut by the Tennessee Titans because they were going to have to pay him $10 million and none of it was guaranteed. So he was very aware of what was going to happen. He's still hanging around doing his podcast with the Barstool Boys with Will Compton and everything, busting around. And Taylor Lewan, this is somebody that I think he kind of has to decide, do I want to play for cheap or would I rather just sit out and do nothing at all? He could be a guy I could see maybe coming in later in the season. Remember, he's still recovering from injury, too, to be potentially a part of a contending team to fill a void, but not a bad option if you are looking for an emergency tackle of sorts, Taylor Lewan. His former teammate, Ben Jones, also still available at this point in time. Ben Jones wasn't bad in Tennessee. Then you have Melvin Ingram at the edge rusher position. And Melvin Ingram, he's been a journeyman of sorts. We saw him in Miami, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. And, I mean, this is a guy that not necessarily the stat stuffer all the time, but finds a way to make an impact on the game and open things up for other guys. Melvin Ingram, he'll play somewhere. He'll put on a jersey at some point this season, as will Casey Hayward as well. Casey Hayward, a guy that, if you recall, spent some time there with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Casey Hayward is somebody that I would expect when teams are shorthanded. I mean, you think, we mentioned Baltimore earlier. They've been through the corners already. If you're looking for a corner, Casey Hayward's not bad. Carlos Dunlap, former Seattle Seahawk, former Kansas City Chief. This guy can be a sack machine. I'm very curious. He's another one that I thought would have been signed by now. Maybe, sure, he's not the same player he was 2 years ago. But this guy can still get after the quarterback and still be elusive. Now, he doesn't necessarily fit every scheme out there. That was the big thing between him and Seattle, why ultimately they moved on from him, was he wasn't necessarily the scheme fit they were looking for anymore. But watch out for Carlos Dunlap potentially to see him end up somewhere and still get a shot to make a roster at some point. Where will Carlos Dunlap sign in NFL free agency? Weigh in, tell us in the comment section. Give me a team that comes to mind that you would think would be a good fit for Carlos Dunlap. Weigh in the comment section. Name me one team of who that is. Today's show is presented by BetUS. the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. Go to chatsports.com/bet. Enter the promo code NFL Daily for a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down. You get $125 to spend for free at chatsports.com/bet and enter that promo code NFL Daily for that deposit bonus. Odds are out for next week's Chiefs and Lions game, the NFL kickoff game on Thursday night. We don't know if Chris Jones will be back by then or not. But what we can tell you is the Chiefs are 6.5-point favorites. Over-under, expected to be a high-scoring affair, 54.5. Get your bets in now. Chatsports.com/bet, promo code NFL Daily to get your bets in today. Julio Jones also on this list. And Julio got a chance with a couple of teams as of late. You know, he was most recently with the Bucs last year, got to play with Tom Brady. Went to Tennessee before that, and it's very evident that Julio Jones is not the Hall of Fame receiver that he was with the Atlanta Falcons. But he's still very big. He could still be a red zone threat of some sorts. If you are looking for a tall, big receiver, I mean, I think a team like Kansas City, who, you know, they've already dealt with some injuries at the wide receiver position, you can get him real cheap. Maybe. Think about this. If you had to deal with him and Travis Kelce both in the red zone, Patrick Mahomes is going to love that all day. Akeem Hicks is also on this list as well. The defensive lineman, formerly of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, teammates with Julio Jones there in Tampa Bay. And, I mean, if you look back at the last decade, he was one of the most dominant defensive players with what he brought to the table and still has something to offer. Akeem Hicks is not done yet. Maybe he comes back to Chicago and finds his way with that organization. Logan Ryan also sitting available out there at the safety position. A lot of good safeties out there, as well as Deron Harmon as well. He's still trying to find a home at this point. Harmon is. We'll see if either one of those guys get call-ups. We mentioned there's plenty of other guys. It'll be a while, I think, before those two guys potentially find their spot. Terrell Basham at the edge rusher position, also still waiting to see if he goes. Kind of in the same boat where there's too many other options before his name ultimately gets called first. The final five on this list. We find Robert Quinn at the edge rusher position, was most recently with the Philadelphia Eagles. Philadelphia, stacked defense there. We know that Howie Roseman's aggressive. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of him making a reunion. Carson Wentz, I'll tell you what, Carson Wentz, get ready to learn XFL, buddy. Nobody should have to take on Carson Wentz as far as I'm concerned. There are, you know, whether it's practice squad guys or teams turn into their third-string quarterback, I would stay as far away from Carson Wentz as possible if it were up to me. I mean, you look at Carson Wentz, and for me, it's not just his play on the field, but he has never been a good teammate, never been a good leader. I would stay as far away from Carson Wentz as possible. I know that we've heard some teams like Philly and New England and others, but I very well think there's a possibility that we could have seen the last of Carson Wentz in the National Football League. A few more names to finish up. Andrew Norwell, the offensive guard spot. Also Michael Schoenfield at the offensive guard spot as well. And then A.J. Cann at the offensive guard spot. So, look, we got to wait for Dalton Risner to get his job, and then we'll eventually potentially work our way down to those guys. So there you have it. That is the top free agents remaining. Now weigh in the comment section. Tell me, who's your favorite team, and who should they sign if they should sign anybody at all? Let us know who that team is. Weigh in the comment section. Name me a player that your team needs to add to their roster. Hit me up on Twitter, at Tyler Jones Live, for more NFL coverage there. Talking about the Seattle Seahawks as well as the rest of the National Football League. And I'll see you next time right here on NFL Daily. All right. So in a moment.
Hell no.
Horns down. We're going to talk about Texas here in a bit. We will get to bold predictions for the college football season. We jumped the gun a little bit. We are going to talk about this in just a second. But it does bring up an interesting point as we get to Okay. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Yeah, yeah. Okay. Thank you, Sam. Is Texas back? We're going to talk college football bold predictions in just a moment. What do you guys think? Smitty, I'm going to share my thoughts in just 1 second, but I want to hear from you as we set the scene here.
Yeah.
Texas, I've watched plenty of Texas football over my entire lifetime. As an Oklahoma Sooners fan, I have despised this team. But I'm not going to give away too much for this bold prediction segment, but it's hard to ignore how talented the Longhorns are entering 2023.
They absolutely are. And listen, we're going to find out. And can I just get a quick note in about this? Because this does relate to Texas. They play Alabama week 2, correct? It's week
yes,
2?
Next week.
Could we just appreciate how many great home and homes we're getting? Think about last season, we saw Florida LSU week 1, we're getting that Sunday. Utah, Florida week 1, we're getting that in 50 minutes. Alabama, Texas, we're getting again. There are so many great matchups. Notre Dame has a bunch of great home and homes, and obviously they play a team like USC every year. It just so happens that both those teams are dynamic. There's a lot of great matchups that we're seeing in college football early on in the season. That's what I love. Non-conference is my favorite part of the college season, both football and basketball. But as for Texas, they're super talented at wide receiver, upgraded massively this season. Quinn Ewers could be a top 15 pick in the NFL draft next season, looking like probably the 3rd, 4th best quarterback in college right now. And that's a compliment because the position group is insanely talented at the top. And listen, there is not that much competition, in my opinion, in the Big 12 this year before things start ramping up with all the realignment.
Yeah. Is Texas back? Let's see. Lore says hell yes. Elona says yes. XD Gamer says hell no. Just because if Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning are on the team doesn't mean they will be good. I'll say this. And like I said, I don't want to give away too much because we're about to talk about it here in just a second. But Smitty, the thing for me, it's Sark. That's the thing I have a question about. It's not the talent, but the ego of Texas and Steve Sarkisian. That's the one thing that I have questions about as far as this Texas team goes going into this next season. Horns down. Is Texas back? Let us know in the comments what you guys think. Chat seems to be a little bit divided. All right.
Now, before we start the segment, Tyler, I'm just curious because you said you've been an Oklahoma fan your whole life, obviously from Oklahoma.
Right.
Where does the conflict come in when you're talking about Oklahoma and Kansas? Because you are a KU alum.
I did go to Kansas. I do put it this way: I don't root for Oklahoma when they play Kansas. So
your rooting interest is Kansas, yes, then Oklahoma.
Right. Exactly.
Okay.
But they're about to be in separate conferences and about to make my life a lot easier.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They probably never really played much anymore.
They probably. I would be shocked if they ever play anytime soon after they go to different leagues.
Yeah, especially in football. Basketball, they could get matched up in like a tournament or something like a Thanksgiving week, feast week tournament. They could
something
get
like that.
Up.
But yeah, I mean, it will not be an issue for yours truly as far as that goes. But no. My allegiance is still with Kansas, but I will boomer sooner all day.
That's respect. You should always go with your alma mater if you can.
Yeah, horns down right here, folks. Let's go ahead and college football now. If you switch to the college football background.
Yes,
then,
sir.
Good
looking out there.
In just a second. College football now is next. Bold predictions. I have 5 bold predictions for 2023. As we get Utah and Florida coming up in just over an hour from now.
A little less than an hour now.
That's going to be a fun game.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going with Utah, even though they don't have Cam Rising today.
I'm also going with Utah. That defense is too good, and I'm not a believer in Graham Mertz on the other side for Florida. Utah returns a ton of players, and I'm a big Utes fan myself. So
are you now?
Not a huge fan, but
okay.
I don't have a college football team. That's one of the few that I support.
All right. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get to my 5 bold predictions for the college football season ahead here on College Football Now. College football finally is here. Welcome to College Football Now. Tyler Jones here with the season already underway and a lot of exciting action coming up this weekend for week number 1. I am going to give you my 5 bold predictions ahead of the 2023 season and what my expectations are. I got some hot takes ahead, so let's go ahead and fire away. Number 1, I might regret this later. Texas is back. I feel like I'm already regretting saying this. I look at this Texas team, folks, and you can't argue about the talent of the Texas Longhorns. Quinn Ewers will be under center. The number 1 ranked quarterback a couple years ago coming out, one of the highest rated recruits ever in college football history. And we saw him take a step forward, but he's still got a big step to go. The talent there, like Xavier Worthy, Jalen Ford, this is without a doubt the most talented team in the Big 12 Conference. My question about the Texas Longhorns is nothing about Texas, actually. I have concerns about Steve Sarkisian. We've seen Sark do a good job, win a lot of football games over the years at Texas and at USC and at Washington. But he's never been able to take that next step and get over the hump. Is Sark the right guy? Can the ego of Texas get in their way? Ultimately, I think the talent for Texas is going to be too much to where even Sark can't even hold them back. Quinn Ewers last season threw for around 58% was his completion percentage. 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He did miss several games after he got injured in that Alabama game. But here's the thing. If Quinn Ewers does struggle, doesn't look the part, Texas has the best quarterback room in the country. They have other options that they could potentially turn to besides Ewers, whether it's Arch Manning. Xavier Worthy has had a terrific camp in offseason. Texas is going to be a force to be reckoned with, and I have them in the college football playoff in 2023 as one of the top 4 teams in America. So, what do you guys think? Is Texas back? Are you going hook 'em, HY for hell yes, or are you going horns down, HN for hell no? Weigh in the comment section. Tell me, is Texas back? What do you think? Number 2 on my bold predictions. Prime time, Deion Sanders is in Boulder now with the Colorado Buffaloes. They open up their season on Big Noon Saturday, taking on the TCU Horned Frogs. And a lot of turnover with that Colorado team as they completely flip that roster with 80-plus new players that Deion Sanders has brought in. And there's even new players from when he took over all the way back in the spring, as they've retooled this roster a couple of times. Now Deion enters his first season as the head coach in Colorado off a very successful tenure at Jackson State, where he went 27-6. And here's the case I would make. I know everybody's making a big deal, like how do you bring in that many new players and lose so many guys and compete right away? And this is what I would tell you. It's going to take time. I don't even expect Colorado to be that competitive against TCU on Saturday, but I do think as the season goes along, this team is going to get better as 2023 continues. I think that's when you're going to see Colorado grow and take those big steps because their talent is too good for them not to. With Sanders, with Travis Hunter, these are some of the best players in all of college football. And you bring in the number 2 ranked transfer portal class according to On3. Colorado is built to succeed for the long term. It's going to be some growing pains, but watch out. I think Colorado can find a way to put together 6 wins and make it to a bowl game in Deion's first season. Number 3 on my bold predictions. Cade Klubnik, the quarterback for the Clemson Tigers. I think he's going to be a Heisman finalist. There's all this talk this year about Caleb Williams, the reigning Heisman Trophy winner, and Drake May, who's expected to be the second quarterback taken in next April's draft. But you can't sleep on Cade Klubnik. About every other quarterback at Clemson is a star for this Clemson program, from Deshaun Watson to Trevor Lawrence, and I think Klubnik is going to fall in line with that next group. We didn't see a whole lot of Klubnik last year as DJU was the starter for most of the season. He ended up taking the job away from DJU in the ACC championship game, led them to an ACC title, and was named the MVP of that. Former five-star recruit out of Westlake High School in Austin, Texas, the former U.S. Army Player of the Year in 2021. Klubnik's got natural ability, natural intangibles. I think he's going to be very accurate, good arm, very athletic. And I think with Klubnik, you're looking at a guy where Clemson, their schedule's not terrible. That's going to play to his advantage to be able to stack up those numbers and compete for the Heisman. Look, last year, I mean, the numbers don't tell a full story here. 61% completion percentage. He had 3 picks and 2 touchdowns, nearly 700 yards. Played sparingly throughout 10 games last year, but I think Klubnik takes a big step, and you're going to be very impressed to see him continue that great legacy of Clemson and their quarterbacks and potentially put them in the discussion to be QBU. Speaking of the Heisman, who is going to win the Heisman Trophy in college football this season? Klubnik get the job done? Could it be Caleb Williams again? Remember, we've only had one back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner ever, that being Archie Griffin. Could we see Drake May? Is it Quinn Ewers? Who wins the Heisman in 2023? Give me your Heisman prediction in the comment section. Let me know who it is. Folks, we are talking more college football all the time here at Chat Sports with the latest happenings in college football. We got you covered as we're talking rumors around the transfer portal, recruiting, conference realignment. We got game previews and more. If you want more college football content, then you need to subscribe today. I believe we can get 30 subscribers off today's video. If we can get 30 subscribers off today's video, I promise you we're going to bring you more college football content here on College Football Now. Number 4 on my list of bold predictions. This will be the final year for Mike Gundy at Oklahoma State. Now, I'm not saying the man's going to be fired. Maybe he's forced to resign, whatever you want to technically call it. The end is near for Mike Gundy and the Oklahoma State Cowboys. Mike Gundy has had a terrific run with Oklahoma State. As he enters his 19th season with the Cowboys, he's won 156 games. He's the best coach in that program's history. He's won a Big 12 title. He's been a 2-time Big 12 Coach of the Year. But all good things must come to an end. And last year, we saw Oklahoma State take a significant step back. At times, it didn't look like their heart was in it, and Gundy made some just careless decisions. It didn't even look like he and his teams, on the same field as some of the opponents they played last year, like Kansas State and Oklahoma and others here. And as Oklahoma State enters this next chapter of Big 12 football, no Oklahoma there, sure, but are they really confident that Gundy is going to take them to that next step? There's a huge opportunity ahead for Oklahoma State to be the team, the face of the new Big 12 conference. And Mike Gundy is not going to be good enough to get the job done. They lost a lot in the transfer portal. I got major concerns about Oklahoma State. They might win 5 games potentially. And you mentioned Oklahoma. I mean, the track record isn't very good. Even when OU was down last year, they still got their ass kicked by the Sooners. Mike Gundy is 3-15 all time against his arch rivals, the head coach at Oklahoma State. I think this is going to be the final sounding bell for Mike Gundy, and we see the man that was once 40 years old on the way out the door in Stillwater. Finally, on my bold predictions, LSU is a fraud. I am selling LSU. They got extremely lucky to win 10 games last year and compete at the level that they did. I looked at that LSU team, and a lot of things went right for LSU last year. You bring back 12 starters, and I got to say, I like Brian Kelly. I think Brian Kelly is a good head coach. But Jaden Daniels is not a good enough passer for me. I think he's way overrated. Neighbors Brooks Jr. I mean, there's some talented players there, but I think that a lot of those games last year where they got lucky, they'll kind of get exposed for who they really are. Remember this, there's still a transition process that LSU is going through. Brian Kelly is not running the Ed Orgeron, Joe Brady, Joe Burrow, air raid offense of old. They're still shifting to a power run game of traditional pro-style offense football. And I think you're going to see that they're still going through that change, going through those growing pains. They might have great athletes, but not necessarily for what Brian Kelly is trying to do. It's not a good fit for now as far as contending, I think, personally. Tough game against Florida State coming up on Sunday night. That game begins at 6:30 Eastern time. I think I'm leaning towards Florida State. And I get some thoughts on Florida State, too. I don't necessarily think Florida State's that great either. But with that said, we wrap up today. Give me your bold prediction for the 2023 college football season. I've given you a lot of hot takes. Now I want to hear yours. Weigh in the comments section. Give me your hot take for 2023. Subscribe to Chat Sports as we're talking college football here on the channel each and every day. And we got you covered. I'm Tyler Jones. Thanks for joining us here on this edition of College Football Now. Enjoy the first weekend of college football. All right. There you have it. We are almost done with our show for today. As we wrap up here, Smitty, you saw the hot takes now.
Yeah.
Your chance to react. What do you think?
I didn't think you were that low on LSU. I think they have a lot of talent, man. Is Jaden Daniels really not like that for you?
I don't think he's a good enough passer. No.
Yeah? He's got good arm talent, but it's just the accuracy isn't there. I don't know. Do you think – who do you think has a better season, Florida State or LSU?
I think Florida State, much better schedule for them.
Oh, yeah, it's ACC versus SEC, but they got to go against Clemson, right?
They play Clemson, yes.
So
and they play Florida, but I don't think Florida's that great.
Florida's not good.
I think Florida State's probably a 9-win team.
Really?
They'll stumble along the way to somebody they shouldn't lose to, and I think LSU is going to be about an 8-win team. There's my hot takes.
8 wins
there
for LSU. I think they get more than that.
I'll go 8 for LSU. All right. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'm going to put the sub link in the chat. We'll see you next time. Subscribe to the channel for more college football and NFL coverage. Smitty, a lot of fun doing the show today.
Yes, sir.
We will get out of here.
As always.
We will see you next time here on NFL Daily and College Football Now.